Fresh from the showcase at SwissWatchExpo, the Panerai Luminor Due, a thinner, more refined, elegant Panerai for your wrist. You might find yourself being one of the Paneristi, a fan of the Panerai watches, and maybe you love that big chunky tool watch look, but it doesn't work for every single situation you encounter in life. For example, let's say we had a client last week. He ordered a Luminor Marina from us. He got it. He was really thinking he would use it as a dress watch, but he found that it was just too thick to fit under the cuffs of his dress shirts. He worked at a law firm, and he wanted something that would be a dressier version, but still kind of capture that spirit and feel of the Panerai military, macho, great looking vintage 30s, 40s, 50s inspired watch. And he ended up sending it back. And what we suggested to him, and we'll suggest to you as well, is the Panerai Luminor Due. It looks like D-U-E, like the English word do, but it is not. It is the Italian word due, which means two. So you could kind of think of it as the Luminor 2. But don't translate it. Go ahead and call it the Due. And what it is, they've come out with this in 2016, and it is a much thinner Panerai Luminor. It retains the look of the Panerai Luminor 1950, which came out in the early 2000s. You have this great case shape. Of course, it retains the crown guard that is flat from the Luminor 1950. And you can see it has the registered trademark text there, just like the Luminor 1950. But here comes the surprise. When you turn it and look at the edge, you'll see it's about 40% thinner than the original Luminor 1950. So this is a watch that it has the cardinal numbers, 12369. It has the sandwich dial that we're used to seeing from Panerai. This one has the sort of ecru cream-colored vintagey look, sort of like a patina about it, but it has that great lume base behind the dial. It's called a sandwich dial because the baton markers and the numbers are actually cut out of another dial that is placed over the one with all the lume material. And so it has these great design cues that we're used to from Panerai, but much thinner, much more wearable on a day-to-day basis. It's not as big if you're someone with a smaller wrist. This watch is 45 millimeter, but I don't have very big wrists, and you can see, I mean, it fits just fine. It's not a thick watch by any means. You do still get a little bit of bulk here from the crown guard, but it doesn't intrude at all. One of the ways that they made it so thin was it's not as water resistant as the full-on military dive watch you see from the Luminor Marina series. These are water resistant to 30 meters, about 100 feet. You could basically splash around on the surface at that, but who would in a dressy watch like this? You can see they kind of emphasized their intention with it by the kind of strap they put on it. Most Panerai, you're used to seeing rubber or some sort of textile. This is a large grain alligator with the stitching. Definitely increases the dress factor of it right away. And it's got a simple pin buckle so that you can adjust it very easily. One of the reasons that they were able to make it as thin as they did is that you can see instead of using a full-size rotor, this has a micro rotor. It's much smaller, and it rotates within the plane of the movement rather than being affixed to the surface of the movement, which would have made it a lot thicker. Panerai says that the reason that it's only water resistant to 30 meters is because of the thickness. They would have had to make it thicker to make it more water resistant, and they chose not to do that. They were very, as the Brits say, keen on making sure that it was as thin as possible. So this one retains the original look mostly. The GMT model here you can see has a radial anthracite dial. And so that's just really beautiful, something you don't see on the regular Panerai watches. Also point out the bezel on these is a lot thinner than on the Luminor Marina or the Luminor 1950. But you can see the crystal is raised a good bit. This one has both the GMT function Over here it shows a AM PM indicator. It has a separate GMT hand, you can see with the little pointer there just past 9. And it also has a power reserve indicator. These watches, they do have a 3-day, 72-hour power reserve thanks to the double barrel movement. Again, you can see the micro rotor on this one as well, and the same kind of alligator strap with the stitching showing. So those are both 45 millimeter. Very interesting. I think this watch would look great on ladies. Also would look great on anyone who thinks that the 45 is a little too much, even on a thinner watch. This one's a 43 millimeter. I'm sorry, 42 millimeter. Got to keep my numbers straight here. But you can see it's got the blue numbers and matching the blue strap. And what's really interesting about this, they introduced a quick change system so that you could really have fun with all these different colors. There's a button in the strap that you push right here. And as you push it, it's real easy to unclip the strap from the spring bar. The spring bar stays in place. And the next strap, you just bring it right in into that notch and click it right in. So it's that easy to change the straps. Again, real thin. This one just fits on the wrist real nicely. And if that one's still too much for you, there's even a 38 millimeter, the smallest watch that Panerai has ever made. I don't have one in stock here to show you at the moment, but on the SwissWatchExpo.com website, in the search bar, if you just type in Panerai Due, again spelled D-U-E, you'll be able to see all of the watches that we have of this collection. And give us a call. Click the button, like, subscribe, see what we've got in stock right now. This might be the perfect Panerai because it retains all of those design cues, but doesn't have that big hulking presence that the original watch does. Give us a call and we'll talk about it.